Yes, good evening and welcome to tonight's program. We've got load shedding, so I'm hoping that I am clear. You can see me clearly. I am using emergency lighting. We are continuing on our series on marriage. Today we are on part 3. So tonight I just want to touch on intimacy and on how wrong intimacy outside of marriage is. So I'm speaking about the pitfalls of engaging in intimacy outside of marriage. Look, I know at church, we know that sleeping with someone outside of marriage is wrong. But the most unfortunate part is it's still happening. So maybe it's happening because people don't get educated exactly as to what the problem is. Maybe people are only told that they are going to hell. No, the damage is so dire and people don't even realize. Engaging in intimacy before marriage can even affect marriages, can even affect people that get into marriage after getting intimate before marriage. So the damage is deep. I've got several points here that I want to discuss. I've got several points here. So please, you are free to type in your point and comment. If I can see it clearly, then I'll be able to state it here on the program. So now this, I don't want to monopolize this program tonight, because I think this topic is close to many people. It's close to many pastors. Parents can't speak about this to their own children. So it becomes a huge problem. I'm talking about the pitfalls of engaging in intimacy before marriage. Pitfall number 1, emotional damage. You know, we've got scriptures for it. If you look at the book of Proverbs chapter 6, verse 32, it says, "But whoso commits adultery with a woman lacks understanding. He that does it destroys his own soul." That's what the word of God says. So engaging in intimacy outside of marriage, you destroy your own soul. It does emotional damage to you. Remember, this is an emotional action. It involves all the emotions, all the feelings. Now, once you get involved in it, you will have a problem in controlling should you not get married to that person. So now it does not mean that everybody that you get into intimacy with, you are going to marry them. No, unfortunately, many people get intimate with many people before they get married. And the damage that they experience in the marriage is big. So number 1, emotional damage. Number 2, unwanted pregnancy. I know some people will go out and write, "Oh, I'm a single parent and proud of it." But the fact that is someone engaged in intimacy before marriage, and as a result, they became single parent. Look, kudos to them because they didn't commit abortion. But then it becomes a huge problem because the problem piles on one another simply because of unwanted pregnancy. Number 1, unwanted pregnancy makes one to be a parent while they are not ready yet. You know, to be a parent, you need to be mentally ready. You need to be socially ready. You need to be psychologically ready. So sometimes engaging in intimacy may lead to not being ready. Number 2, it will lead to single parenting. If you go to prison ministry, especially on the male side, most of the young men that are there in jail, some of them for petty crimes, shoplifting, pickpocketing, stealing a cell phone, they are in jail for it. Now they are criminals because of that. And then when you interview some of them, most of them, they will tell you that they come from single parented homes. There is no father figure. There is no authority in the house. They are even afraid of the mother sometimes. So now look, ladies, you may want to say, but then this is my little boy. Oh, my boy, I'm a single parent, I'm enjoying it. Fact is, he won't remain a boy forever. There is puberty that's coming. And puberty has got its own challenges. Adolescence creeps in. Friends out there begin to make sense to these young men. Hormones start coming. Hair starts to grow. Their voice starts to change. And all of these become a challenge to the mother, because she's never been a man. She may not know how to address them. So now it may pose a challenge. So single parenting becomes a serious challenge. I mean, let us be honest. We cannot run away and tell people that no, having intimacy before marriage, they're going to hell. Let's leave hell aside. That was a given. But then there's forgiveness of sins anyway. Let's leave it aside. The sins will be forgiven, but the challenges of life will remain. Just because your sins are forgiven does not mean that you are exempt from challenges of life. I mean, for instance, if you have a child outside of marriage, God will forgive you, but the baby won't disappear. The challenges of having that baby will remain. So now, let us not, Christians, please try and sweep things under the carpet. Because by so doing, we are causing much more damage than we can ever imagine. So it is important that we become realistic. Single parenting becomes a problem. Why? Because of intimacy outside of marriage. Number 3, when you are a single parent, especially ladies, it decreases your chances of getting married. True. Very few men are brave to want to marry a lady that has got a child or children. Very few. And not to say that they don't have children outside. They may have children out there, but then they want to marry someone without children. They'll tell you about stepchildren, how bad adoption is. Sure. So it becomes a problem upon a problem. So now, let us teach our young girls. Let us be realistic and let us be true to them and teach them these things. I know for some of us, we may be married already, or it may be too late for us, but then let us teach our young girls. Let us teach our young boys. Because most of the time, we focus on girls and then we leave the boys alone. The young men, we don't even speak to them about these things. We let them go out and experiment. Parents don't speak about these things. And guess what? There is television. People see it from television and they learn from television. So we as Christians, we are doing a disservice to our children by not being upright, by not being upfront, by not being straight with them. So it's important that we become frank with our discussion. Point number next. There is poverty increase. Remember, if someone falls pregnant out of wedlock, chances are they are still at high school, or maybe if they finish high school, they are at varsity. It is more probable that they will have to drop off or drop. Is it drop off or drop away? They'll have to drop out from high school to go and take care of the baby. If they're at varsity, they will have to drop out to go and take care of the baby. Now, when they drop out from school, they become unemployable. They become less competitive in the market out there. Then they miss out. You see, then suffering comes in. So now, it is a huge problem that we need to address. Parents, we need to teach our young people. Our young people need to know how dangerous it is to engage in intimacy before marriage. Let us look at the next point. Health risks. You know, there was a research that was released last week at the University of Johannesburg. Do you know that the University of Johannesburg is based in Auckland Park in Johannesburg? Also, it has a campus in Soweto, the Old Vista University on Old Porch Road. It also has a campus in the old Technikon Johannesburg. So it is in 3 campuses. But then around there are residencies for students. There was a research done. There is a high prevalence of STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, around there. And then STDs increase diseases like gonorrhea, HIV. You know, it's a problem. Engaging in sexual activity before marriage has got health risks. And students have got energy. They think they can sleep with this one, go to this one, sleep with this one, go with this one. Can just imagine the kind of sick people will have around. And these students are at varsity. Now they'll be spreading all these diseases. By the time they graduate, they are full of sickness. They won't be able to work and enjoy their money. They would have spent money at varsity training, only to die later because of sickness. So now we need to be clear to our children. We parents, we need to be upfront. If there's any young person listening to me in there, please listen to your parents. Please force your parents to talk to you about these things. Because engaging in intimacy outside marriage has got huge risks. And health risks is one of them. Point number next. It's a breaking of a godly covenant. God sees sexual intimacy as a covenant. So now, if you enter into this thing with somebody that you are not married to, what will be the joy of engaging into it when you want to get married. So now, spiritually, you are impacted. So it is important that you understand that it has got huge implications. Point number next. There will be lack of commitment into marriage because the boy will think that no, now that he can have everything that he likes, he doesn't have to get married. What will be the point of getting married? He won't have the desire or the commitment to get married. Why? Because everything that he wants, he gets. Let us look at number next. I want to speak about this one. Deep down. Formation of soul ties. I did mention when we started that you destroy your own soul. We read in Proverbs chapter 6 verse 32. You destroy your own soul. Now let me go deep into this soul. I've got 4 points to mention under soul ties. So remember the soul. The soul is your feelings, your emotions, your intellect. You know, so your soul, there is no amount of money that you can say you buy your soul. That is why when you give in to the devil, they say you've sold your soul. It means you have sold your highest asset that you have within you as a human being. The spirit, yes, God can redeem it. You can be born again. But the soul, when you sell your soul, it is the highest. There is no amount of money that can quantify it. Now, number one, remember I said your intellect. So now you get into a marriage situation now. You will have feelings of guilt. You will have guilt. Now, suppose you have engaged and you've had a child, and now you meet somebody who wants to marry you. Now, can you just imagine when you go for counseling, the counselor starts asking questions about your ex? Now, the devil will put guilt in your spirit. You'll feel that you are the worst sinner ever. You've committed adultery, you've committed fornication, you've got a child to confirm it. You know, the devil will condemn you and will give you guilt. And then with that guilt, when you go into marriage, when you engage with now your present man or your present lady, you've got these problems that are plaguing your mind. It may even affect how you get intimate. Now, guilt is not child's play. Remember, the devil is the accuser of the brethren. The devil will do everything to make it a point that you feel guilty, to condemn you. And the devil, what can he condemn you on? He can only condemn you on the past. So it's better for everyone to get into marriage on a clean slate. It's better, it's best if you get into marriage being virgins. Look, I know many pastors don't want to preach about these things because these things chase people away from church. People don't want to be branded holier than thou. People are so afraid. But then it is the reality of life. It is the reality of life. Christians have got problems simply because these things are not addressed. Look, I am glad that you do not come to our ministry for you to get angry at me. But then believe you me, it will help you. It will help you as a parent to speak to your daughter. It will help you as a parent to speak to your son. Because you don't want them to get into marriage, and when they get into marriage, they feel guilty. I mean, some people, some ladies even feel so guilty that they're even afraid to mention to the new boyfriend that they've got a child. And sometimes maybe the child is so big because they got this child at the age of 15 or 16. And now they are 25. Now the child is 9 years old, 10 years old. Now you get into marriage, then you're even afraid to disclose that you've got a child because the child is so big. The child has grown up. People will start thinking, hey, Kantiwena, when did you start this thing? And the devil will condemn you. Your soul will be damaged. You will lack self-confidence in your relationship. Number 2, you will have some flashbacks. Do you know flashbacks? I don't know how many of you have ever been in a traumatic situation. Look, I know traumatic situation because I've been through it. There is something called post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Let me tell you, it's not easy to come out of trauma. A traumatic experience, it's not easy to come out of it. You need God. So now some flashbacks are an order of the day in traumatic situations. I mean, can you just imagine in your new relationships, then you start having these flashbacks of what happened in the past, what happened with the previous relationships, what happened with the previous man. So that it may cause trauma in your new relationship. So it is important that you avoid intimacy before you get married, because it's not nice out there. Number 3, there will be an action of comparing. Yeah, because you've been this side and you've been that side, and then you go and marry that side. When you marry that side, then you start comparing, oh, A, oh, B. But by the way, I'm married to C. You are not even able to appreciate C because your mind has been contaminated, your soul has been contaminated with A and possibly B. Now, in some cases, there could have been a C and a D and an E and an F and an whatever. Can you just imagine that situation? When you get married, you start comparing. Can you just imagine what it does to your marriage? Can you just imagine what it does to your partner? If your partner can find out that you are comparing them with somebody else, can you just imagine what will happen to your marriage? Look, I've counseled many marriages, and this aspect is one of the things that affect many marriages. Look, there is no man that wants to be compared with another man. And I don't think there's any lady that wants to be compared with another lady as well. Can you just imagine so-and-so comparing you to so-and-so? Remember, so-and-so used to do this. But then if you wanted so-and-so, why didn't you marry them? Why did you marry me? Or why did they marry you? If they want to keep on comparing to so-and-so. It does so much damage to relationships. So it is important. It is important that we teach our children to stay away from sexual intimacy before they get married. Point number 4. Did you know In our language, I'll try and put it in English name, but then I'm directly translating from my language. They say where water has stopped before, it can stop again. Maybe some of you will get it. Where water has stopped, it will stop again. Or they say where the lightning has hit, it will hit again. So now if you want to get married to so and so, and then you are unable to get married, then you engage in sexual activity and so on and so on, then the second person you were involved as well, the third person you were involved as well, then you get married to this person. Now all of a sudden you meet A again somewhere at a convenient place or some place and so on and so on. If you did not cut those ties correctly, chances are you may repeat what you used to do before. Why? Because you are used to one another. You know what turns you on. You know exactly how to speak. You know, you can recall all the actions and so on and so on. So now it makes it easier. You are much more vulnerable to commit adultery, to go again for engagement outside marriage, because you would have been married by now. So now these things, if you don't cut them properly, they will rise up in your marriage and cause problems. So it is important. It is important that you understand that engaging in intimacy before marriage is dangerous. Look, I mean, you may think that you are the man or you are the lady. But then let me tell you, should it happen that you do not marry that person, their memories will impact you negatively forever. There will be this action of comparing, there will be this action of guilt, there will be this action of flashbacks all the time. There will be this propensity to get into adultery now because of the previous experiences that we have. It may even impact you in your relationship when you're sleeping with the one that you are married to. So it is important that you stay away from sexual intimacy before you get married. It is not, look, I won't come in here and scare you with hell and tell you that you're going to hell and everything else. No, let's stop giving the devil some credit, please. You've got your life to live, and you've got to live your life to the fullest, and you need to enjoy life. And then we need to make sure that you enjoy life correctly. Can you just imagine how pleasant it would be if you all entered marriage and you're both virgins? I mean, you would look forward to your honeymoon. You would look to the time where you engage. You would look forward to it. Why? Because you don't know anything, she doesn't know anything. You know, you both learners in this thing. So it is important that you protect your relationship. Not engaging in sexual activity before marriage, you are protecting your future marriage. You are protecting your future marriage. So now, point number next. It will destroy your intimacy in your marriage. Getting involved in sexual activity will destroy intimacy should you get into marriage. You know, sometimes you may feel worthless. You may want to give in simply because you were hurt before. And this thing has got so much damage on your mind. It's not even funny. So much damage on your mind. Point number next. Engaging in sexual activity before marriage it will cloud your decision making. Yeah, it does cloud decision making. Let me tell you, many people, when it comes to sexual intimacy, hey, logic flies out the window. Logic flies out the window. You can go and ask Abraham. His logic flew out of the window. When Sarah said, no, take my maid and sleep with her, logic flew out of the window for Abraham. Now, for most people, when you engage in sexual activity, logic does not happen. Proper decision making is impaired. Proper decision making is clouded. It's clouded with emotions. It's clouded with, hey, but then he has seen my nakedness. You know, sometimes you may even want to get married to that person only to find that there are so many red flags you don't want to get married to that person. But then just because you slept together, you might want to think sex will solve all the problems. And sex will not solve all the problems. Red flags will still remain. Red flags will have to be dealt with. So it is important. Look, it's high time we pastors stop running away from teaching these things in our ministries. Our youth must be taught. Because if we don't teach our youth, have you seen the new curriculum? Have you seen the new curriculum that the Department of Education wants to bring in? It's called the Bella Bill. Basic Education Law Amendment or something. Hey, they are teaching the 5-year-olds how to use condoms. They are teaching 12-year-olds how to have abortion legally without the parents' involvement. So now, if we don't teach these things in our churches, in a controlled environment, the world out there will teach your children. The world out there will indoctrinate your children. So it is important that we teach our children that engagement in sexual activity before marriage, it will cloud their judgment. Did you know that we've got 67% divorce rate in South Africa? 67%. And 85% of girls that had children outside of marriage never got married. 85%. Why? Because the chance of getting married is reduced. Boys don't want to marry somebody with children. They may have entered into a level of poverty right now because they had to quit school in order for them to go and look after the child. I mean, it's even expensive for the country. A country like South Africa. Did you know that we've got 28 million grant recipients? And out of that 28 million, 17 million are children without parents. 17 million. Can you just imagine 17 million children on a grant? If they are living on a grant, obviously they cannot have healthy food. How much do you buy with a grant of 600 bucks? How much food do you buy? How much nappies do you buy? How much formula do you buy? Purity. Poverty is increased. The government is spending money on these things and not able to invest in businesses, invest in development of the country, invest in trade and foreign trade and increasing investment in the country. The government is providing social services, social welfare. So now, engagement in sexual activity outside of marriage is a bigger problem than we can realize. The problem of hell, please put it aside. For me, is neither here nor there. It's a huge economic problem. Did you know that many people that got married because, some people got married because they wanted to solve a problem. Somebody fell pregnant, so now they felt they need to marry them. Not because they love them. They married them because they made them pregnant. So they married to solve the problem. Now, when you marry to solve the problem will arise in marriage later, and it will result in divorce sooner or later. And sooner or later, divorce, now the child is also torn between the two. The child is torn between the two. So it is important that we teach our children intimacy outside of marriage is dangerous. Look, I want to emphasize that it's wrong because you know that it's wrong already. I want to show you how dangerous that is. Point number next. Did you know there's a transference of demons? When you engage in sexual intimacy, there's a transference of spirits. There's a transference of spirits. Some of you may not know, but a male releases millions of spermatozoa in one interaction, sexual interaction. Over a million, millions and millions. So now, those millions could be spirits. There's a transference of some sort. They may say they die and everything else, but then in the spirit realm, they don't die. They don't die. Let me prove to you this. Did you know that on earth right now, we've got 8 billion people alive? We've got 8 billion people alive that are living on earth, on the surface of the earth. But we've got approximately over 150 billion living under the earth. Those are spirits as well. So now can you just imagine 150 billion spirits competing to enter 8 billion people? Can you just imagine how many demons can one have? Do you remember that man who asked Jesus, "Hey, Jesus, please don't cast us away." And Jesus asked a question and said, "Who are you?" The man said, "We are many. I am a legion." Do you know what legion means? Legion means up to 6,000 soldiers. So now that man was possessed by 6,000 spirits. 6,000 spirits. So now can you just imagine, you go into this marriage, you have slept with so and so, you have slept with so and so, you have slept with so and so. Can you just imagine how many demons you enter into your marriage with? And each and every person is more than so many number of times, and each time they released millions and millions of spermatozoa. Can you just imagine how many demons one is carrying into the marriage? Now, if you've got this man that goes to witch doctors as well, can you just imagine how many is he fetching? And if you've got this man that is sleeping around, how much is he spreading? Now, do you understand why we've got the problem of sickness? Because the person that you're sleeping with may not be sleeping with you alone. especially if you're not married. Now, the last point that I want to put, there will be a feeling of worthlessness. A feeling of worthlessness when you engage in sexual activity before marriage. The truth of the matter is, everybody wants to buy a brand new car. No one wants to go in there and buy a showroom car. A car that has been used for test driving by many drivers. And all of us, when you buy a brand new car, you are so proud of your brand new car, you don't even put the number plates on there. Why? Because you are so proud it's a brand new car. But if you go and buy a used car that was used as a demo for test driving, you know very well that, oh, this car was used for test driving. The same applies to marriage. The same applies to marriage. Now, sometimes you may drive your car, then you meet somebody who test drove that car, and then they say, oh, this is a car that I used to drive at so-and-so dealership. And they start talking to one another, and then you feel so insecure yourself. So it is important. It is important. We need to be specific. We need to teach our young boys and girls that sexual activity outside of marriage is dangerous. Now, it is a pity because you've got pastors doing it. You've got church elders doing it. We need to get rid of this demon. We need to get rid of it. We need to go back to our holy lives. We need to pray hard. We need to correct the situation. Because this demon has spread. This demon has spread all over the place. Bishops are doing it. I know of one bishop that is appearing in court. I'm not sure, how many allegations are there. But remember, these are just allegations for now. But then it's so sad. It is so sad. We need to correct. We need to correct our situation. When we sit here, thank you, Tintswalo, we need to make our children live their lives to the fullest. We don't want you to live a half life. We care for you. We don't want you to make the same mistakes that some of us made. I'm saying us because I'm an elder right now. I'm in the coaching team. Some of us made terrible mistakes. If you have had kids outside of marriage and you never got married, please mention that to your children and say, look at me as an example. You don't want to be like me. I am struggling to pay my rent. I am struggling to raise you alone. I am struggling in this area. I am struggling in this area. It is not shameful for you to tell your children how struggling you are. Do not play that a big role kind of, I can afford kind of thing. No. Be vulnerable. Teach your children so that they will know. But unfortunately, we are so proud. We want to prove that no, it's not about that. It's about education. It's about education. Wow, time flies. I still had a few things to speak about. But then tomorrow, I'm going to be speaking about strategy for holiness. I'm going to speak about faithfulness. I'm going to speak about celibacy tomorrow. Please invite people. Tell your friends about it. Tag them so that they join us tomorrow. Thank you very much for joining us. We truly appreciate it. Let's meet tomorrow, 6:15. Thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody. Cheers.